Welcome to our booth at the final edition of the 2023 Round Top Antiques Fair at the Big Red Barn in Round Top, Texas. We always prepare to the nth degree for this event, where we have a massive space. So for each show, we're researching, writing, conserving, and framing at least 50 additional things just for that purpose, in addition to our constant effort to get excellent material to the website every day, no matter what time of year it is. In doing so, we prepare not only for the event, but for the holiday season that follows afterwards. I want to direct your attention to the back center of the booth, where there's a 28-star flag. That's Texas statehood, a one-year flag, pre-Civil War, extremely rare and desirable. A terrific thing, and one of our centerpieces. On the left, you'll see a wonderful banner that I acquired recently with a very folky eagle, above which are four-pointed, yellow-painted stars. The banner is trimmed out in a jacquard weave fabric that's navy blue and gold with a floriated design, and I've never seen it before in any sort of patriotic banner. Would never even think of using it in such a thing, but wow, is it amazing, and really sets it apart from anything I've ever had along those lines. Next, above the gate, take a look along the top where you see a Confederate First National flag, homemade, made entirely of silk, but with gilt foil stars that are press decorated with a floral pattern and are just incredible. This flag was taken by a Union Army general who led the first ever black unit during the Civil War. Incredible. And then after the war went on to be a proponent of freed slaves and founded, along with infamous General O.O. Howard, Howard University in Washington, D.C. The Broadway Gate came from Newport, Rhode Island. It's 19th century, and it is so unusual. It's so thick, it can almost just stand up on its own. And it came with a second part that's about 1.5 times as long as this. Together they look about 3 times as long, and that has the name of the owner of the house, Joshua Peckham. This came from a famous Newport house known as the Heath Peckham House at 116 to 118 Broadway. In spite of its value as a folk art object and as an art object in general, its real value, even though not directly related, is simply in the name Broadway. To the left, I have 2 terrific Civil War period 13-star flags. The one on the bottom is in the 3rd Maryland pattern, an oval version of that, an entirely hand-sewn flag, and is truly tremendous. That is not to be missed. And above it, another Civil War period 13-star flag with a 32323 pattern and wonderful specific history because of the name along the binding. And love the ties. This is just a terrific flag too. Now here along the top is a great little elongated flag with a square canton and a snowball medallion configuration of stars, homemade and with specific history to a Kentucky unit. This is precisely the sort of tiny pieced and sewn flag that will fit in a lot of spaces that others won't. Plus, it has specific history to the 2nd Kentucky Veteran Volunteer Cavalry. That's a Union Army during the Civil War. So it's opening 2 years of the war. The 34th star reflecting Kansas statehood, and it has specific history to a Kentucky unit. Actually, The guy that it belonged to may have been from Ohio, so talk about a lot of possible relationships. This is a great flag. And below it, don't miss our video on this tremendous Civil War chess set. Extraordinary thing with huge playing pieces and a board that features albumin photos of Civil War generals. In the middle here, look at the U.S. Navy Civil War recruitment broadside. I've seen plenty of Army-related examples, but never a Navy example. Not one. Super unusual. Came out of an important collection, the same collection that the eagle carving above it came out of. Also Civil War period. You have to see our video on that. It's just out of this world. Now take a look on the back wall and you'll see the white flag with a red eagle and a blue ring of stars around it. This was made by Sarah McFadden in New York City, dubbed the Betsy Ross of New York because she was such a prolific flag maker in New York for so long a period of time. This was made for a Hudson River paddle wheel steamer that operated between roughly 1852 and 1860 before being commandeered by the federal government, fitted with guns, and became a U.S. Navy warship. Post-war, it was sold to the Revenue Marine, better known as the Revenue Cutter Service. So it became both a U.S. Navy gunboat and a Revenue Cutter Service ship. Amazing history. I do not know how many flags are out there with an eagle on them made by a known maker that flew on both a U.S. Navy ship and a Revenue Cutter ship, and during war period and pre-Civil War. That is a gem of American history. To the right, you'll see a huge suffrage poster with a very clear message and identifiable colors. Vote yes. Can't get much clearer than that, can you? This is Empire State Campaign Committee. That's New York State. And hardly anything in suffrage is this scale with this sort of visual impact. To the left is a group of 8 Civil War Bible flags and another of the 1876 era belonging to the paymaster of New York City. I'm not sure how many times in American history this many Bible flags have been in one place at one time. There was a point where I did an exhibition for the Philadelphia Antique Show for its 50th anniversary as the loan exhibit, when I borrowed a bunch of them from people I'd sold them to all over the country. I, at the time, had certainly never seen that many together at once. In fact, I'd never had more than 2 Confederate examples, that's for sure, at once, hanging in my booth for sale, let alone 8 examples, 7 Confederate and 1 Union. This is such a treat. This is the best thing in the booth, hands down. And 3 flags among this group are holy grails of this subcategory of collecting. In this image, you can get a better look at that banner with the eagle and the yellow stars. That's actually more elongated than it appears here, and way more so than the other image. In the background, a tall case clock dating to the 1820s or 1830s, possibly earlier, with an inverted taper at the base that's extraordinary. It's very tall and thin. The decoration is wonderful. Origin in either Kentucky or Tennessee, which is very cool, and works by Luman Watson of Cincinnati. The black decorated settee is unusual for a number of reasons. One, I believe it to be of Pennsylvania origin, and black is much more indicative of Baltimore or New England. Hardly ever see that in a Pennsylvania paint decorated bench. I own one in black other than this one, but they're super uncommon. Also, the size, and that's very desirable. Only 56 inches wide instead of the typical 6 feet or 6.5 feet. It's a little bit later, probably, I estimate between 1870 and 1890 versus 1845 to 1865. It's got great surface, and it doesn't look newer. It just probably is. It's more gut instinct than actual construction. Love the decoration, and very, very usable. In the upper right hand corner, look at the 38 star flag with a cornflower blue canton and burgundy red stripes. And look along the hoist where there's a huge wide red binding. This is a beautiful flag. That's Colorado statehood, 1876 to 1889, and with a known maker from West Virginia of all places. So really, really cool thing with some very unusual traits. Thanks for taking the time to take a little tour with us today, and hope you can come and see us soon. Call me anytime at 717-676-0545. Drop me an email, info@jeffbridgman.com, or visit our website, of course, www.jeffbridgman.com.